Belarus has launched fresh military drills involving tactical nuclear weapons, while Russia's latest hypersonic missile system remains deployed on Belarusian soil. As tensions with the West continue to simmer, the exercises are sending a sharp strategic message far beyond the region. According to the Belarusian Defense Ministry, the exercises are designed to test combat readiness and coordination between military units tasked with handling nuclear-capable systems.
So this just happened. Russia just moved nuclear equipment into Belarus during massive military drills, and suddenly the entire internet started acting like we are one bad decision away from everybody learning how to hide under desks again like it is 1962. Missile launchers, nuclear exercises, strategic bombers, and Putin standing there calmly talking about global balance while the rest of the planet collectively starts stress-eating snacks and refreshing Twitter every 12 seconds.
Russia is wrapping up some of its largest nuclear drills in years as tensions with NATO continue to rise over the war in Ukraine. Russia's defense ministry says the three-day drill involved strategic nuclear forces across Russia as well as Belarus. Trucks carrying intercontinental ballistic missiles, atomic-powered submarines, and long-range bombers were all part of the exercise. President Vladimir Putin called nuclear weapons a, quote, last resort while stressing the importance of maintaining Russia's nuclear forces. Moscow also confirmed nuclear munitions were delivered to storage facilities in Belarus during the exercise.
And honestly, this is where people started getting nervous. Because these are not tiny drills with 2 tanks and a guy holding binoculars pretending to look important. We are talking tens of thousands of troops, missile systems everywhere, submarines, bombers, launchers, the full supervillain starter pack. And the timing makes it worse because Putin is doing all this while tensions with NATO are already boiling over.
The use of nuclear weapons is an extreme and exceptional measure to ensure the national security of our states. At the same time, given the growing tension in the world and the emergence of new threats and risks, our nuclear triad, as before, must serve as a reliable guarantor of the sovereignty of the Union State of Russia and Belarus, ensure strategic deterrence, and maintain nuclear parity and global balance of power. Then Belarus's leader, Lukashenko, says we are absolutely not threatening anyone, but we have nuclear weapons and we are ready in every possible way to defend our...
And this is the part that turned political fast online. Because while Putin is running nuclear drills and standing next to Xi Jinping looking like 2 Bond villains discussing world domination over expensive tea, Trump's response starts confusing people. Instead of sounding tough on Russia, critics immediately started accusing him of bending over backward trying to keep Putin happy.
Belarusian officials insist the exercises are defensive in nature and aimed at maintaining operational preparedness amid a rapidly changing security environment. Moscow has also repeatedly described tactical nuclear deployments as part of broader deterrence measures.
And then the story somehow gets even crazier because now Iran jumps back into the conversation too. Intelligence leaks start flying, drone programs restarting, Strait of Hormuz tensions climbing, Turkey dumping U.S. Treasury holdings, everybody suddenly acting like the global economy is one argument away from needing therapy and blood pressure medication.
Belarus? Yes, it is our ally. We have a union state with Belarus, but it is a sovereign state. Therefore, such statements are nothing more than an attempt to further incite the continuation of the war and to escalate tensions.
And this is where the internet completely lost it. Because while all this global tension is happening, Marco Rubio starts talking about Cuba, aircraft carriers show up, and Trump starts discussing bulletproof walls and drone ports around his ballroom like he is building the final boss headquarters in a Call of Duty campaign. At this point, politics does not even feel real anymore. It feels like somebody gave a billionaire Reddit conspiracy theories and unlimited executive power at the same time.
According to the Belarusian Defense Ministry, the exercises are designed to test combat readiness and coordination between military units tasked with handling nuclear-capable systems. The drills involve missile forces and aviation units operating under simulated battlefield conditions.
And honestly, the reason clips like this spread so fast online is because people are mentally exhausted now. Every single week feels like the world is balancing on a folding chair sitting on top of another folding chair, while somebody in Washington keeps shaking the table for fun. One second it is nuclear drills in Belarus. Next second it is aircraft carriers near Cuba. Then suddenly the president is talking about bulletproof ballroom walls and drone ports like he is preparing to survive the final battle scene in a dystopian sci-fi movie while Congress fights him publicly at the exact same time. That is the emotional atmosphere people are waking up inside every morning now. Constant escalation, constant panic, Constant headlines screaming that civilization is two bad meetings away from turning into a YouTube documentary narrated by a guy whispering over piano music. And whether people support Trump or absolutely cannot stand the man, even critics admit one thing very clearly. Trump turns every single event into television. Everything becomes louder once he enters the frame. Bigger, more chaotic, more dramatic. Even ordinary diplomatic tension suddenly feels like the trailer for a disaster movie narrated by a man with an unnecessarily deep voice saying, "This summer, humanity runs out of patience." That is why people stay glued to this stuff online, even while complaining that they are tired of politics, because modern politics stopped functioning like politics years ago. It functions like emotional entertainment now. It is outrage mixed with suspense, mixed with fear, mixed with memes. People are not just consuming information anymore. They are consuming atmosphere. Stress atmosphere. Doom atmosphere. Chaos atmosphere. Every notification on your phone feels like it could either be a normal news alert or the beginning of a global incident. And honestly, people are starting to crack mentally under the constant noise of it all. You can feel it. Everybody is angrier online. Everybody sounds exhausted. Everybody talks like they are one headline away from moving into the woods and raising chickens full time. Because eventually the brain stops reacting to individual crises and starts reacting to the constant feeling that crises never stop coming. Nuclear tensions, economic fears, investigations, leaks, social media meltdowns, political threats. Another hearing, another war headline, another emergency press conference with people standing behind podiums pretending they slept more than 90 minutes last night. And then in the middle of all that, Trump appears on television talking about giant gold ballrooms with bulletproof glass, while reporters stare at him like they are trying to determine whether they are covering a presidency or watching an improv comedy sketch that somehow got military clearance. That is why this stuff spreads so aggressively online. It feels unreal, but also believable at the exact same time. That is the weird psychological zone America lives in now. Every insane headline sounds fake for about 6 seconds until people realize, wait, honestly, that could actually happen now. 5 years ago, if somebody told you politics would involve nuclear drills, drone ports, sanctions, courtroom drama, aircraft carriers, billionaires, TikTok propaganda wars, and Congress arguing over giant golden ballrooms while the internet turns everything into reaction memes before lunch, people would have assumed you accidentally mixed 3 different dystopian movies together. Now it is just Tuesday. That is the problem. Chaos has become normalized. And normalizing is dangerous because eventually people stop feeling shock and start feeling fatigue. That is where voters are drifting emotionally right now. Fatigue. Not necessarily ideological conversion. Fatigue. People are tired of feeling like every month contains enough insanity for 3 separate presidential libraries. They are tired of opening social media and immediately seeing the words breaking news attached to something that sounds like a rejected script from HBO. They are tired of hearing phrases like rising nuclear tensions while also hearing politicians argue about social media posts like high school students fighting in a group chat. It is emotional whiplash constantly, and that is why those approval numbers at the end matter politically. Not because every voter suddenly became an expert on foreign policy or sanctions or missile systems. Most people are reacting emotionally, not academically. They are reacting to instability itself, to unpredictability, to the feeling that nobody is actually steering the country anymore, and everybody in power is just grabbing the wheel for 10 seconds at a time before another crisis slams through the windshield. And honestly, the political class underestimates how deeply that atmosphere affects ordinary people. Most Americans are not sitting around studying white papers on global deterrence strategy. They are trying to survive normal life, pay rent, raise kids, go to work, buy groceries without needing a second mortgage for eggs. And meanwhile, every day the national conversation sounds like the world's most stressful podcast hosted by people who have not blinked since 2021. That emotional exhaustion accumulates. It builds quietly until suddenly approval numbers collapse or voter turnout shifts or public trust implodes seemingly overnight, because eventually people stop asking, who is right? And start asking, can somebody please make the insanity stop for 5 damn minutes? And honestly, Trump both benefits from and fuels that environment simultaneously. That is the strange paradox around him politically. He dominates attention because he understands spectacle better than almost anyone in modern politics. He instinctively understands television psychology, conflict, drama, fear, defiance, oversized imagery, giant language. Everything becomes emotionally larger around him. But the downside is that eventually the atmosphere itself becomes exhausting for people living inside it constantly. It is like being trapped in a casino where every slot machine is screaming breaking news 24 hours a day while somebody nearby is threatening tariffs against another country over breakfast. At some point, the human brain just starts begging for silence. And yet the craziest part is this cycle probably is not slowing down anytime soon. Tomorrow there will be another headline, another threat, another leak, another military movement, another congressional fight, another social media eruption, Another emergency interview with a politician aggressively pointing at charts while cable news graphics flash behind them like America is seconds away from unlocking a secret boss level. That is modern politics now, not governance, not leadership. A permanent state of emotional escalation where the entire country refreshes its phones every morning, wondering whether today's storyline involves sanctions, submarines, investigations, drones, courtrooms, fighter jets, or somebody accidentally posting classified information in a signal chat again. At this point, America does not even feel like a country sometimes. It feels like the world's most expensive reality show where nobody knows whether the next episode ends with diplomacy, recession, impeachment, a trade war, or somebody building another bulletproof ballroom next to a golf course.